masters of the ancient sky confronted in the shadow of modern winged birds, whose images mesmerize us with their beauty and grace in flight, lurks one of the most majestic and mysterious groups of creatures ever to conquer the heavens, the pterosaurs. Taking to the skies millions of years ago, these flying reptiles were the first rulers of the heavens, impressive in their power and majesty. Evolution has given rise to a variety of pterosaur species, from small, bird-like creatures to gigantic creatures that rival the size of modern airplanes. Their wings were adapted to the most complex maneuvers in the air, allowing them to hunt prey and glide over the vastness of ancient seas and forests. Some of these mighty pterosaurs, whose size still amazes us today, were capable of traveling distances comparable to half the globe in a single flight. Their power over the skies extended over millions of years, leaving their mark on the history of our planet. When the Earth was still just forming its continents and the oceans were spilling over, a group of mysterious creatures were born that conquered the heavens. They were pterosaurs, huge and small. These flying reptiles were undoubtedly the virtuosos of flight in their time. Evolutionary advances. According to research, some representatives of this group, comparable in size to modern light airplanes, could travel great distances in the air. The wings of pterosaurs provided extraordinary maneuverability and speed, allowing them to conquer the vastness of ancient seas and land. Winged creatures ruled the skies for as long as 150 million years, leaving an indelible mark on evolutionary history. Pterosaurs, rulers of the air. Pterosaurs were not only rulers of the air but also important participants in ecosystems, regulating animal populations and contributing to the balance of nature. Like almost every member of the ancient fauna, pterosaurs had rivals with whom they had to fight fierce battles for resources, territory, and females. Entire events can be read from the remains of prehistoric representatives. For example, at the beginning of the Jurassic period, a small pterosaur called Rhamphorhynchus was fishing near the shore. He had already managed to eat a couple of them and pounced on a third giant fish called Aspiring, but tragedy struck. Aspiring likely attacked and accidentally closed his jaws on Rhamphorhynchus's wing and wouldn't let go. The winged hunter was unable to handle it due to the latter's weight. In the end, both drowned and sank to the bottom of the sea. Research and archaeological findings tectonic resin made eternal mummies of the tragically dead rivals, which were kept until our days. We now know that the Rhamphorhynchus hunted fish, and in doing so often became the prey of large predatory fish, and such cases between Rhamphorhynchus and Aspiringa were not uncommon. The invisible enemy of pterosaurs also posed a danger. In addition to natural enemies, birds faced invisible enemies, bird fleas, small insects that traveled over the feathered body and caused much trouble. They were perfectly adapted for life in the house called bird. 150 million years ago, different species of pterosaurs suffered from troublesome neighbors. On their wings were small Zavrotaurus fleas. The fleas had long legs with sharp claws that helped them stay on the wings of the pterosaurs. At the time of the pterosaurs, these pesky creatures were perfectly at home underwater and continued their hellish ceremony. These little creatures were on guard both in the sky and underwater, wreaking havoc on their big friends. Confrontation almost everywhere. Quetzalcoatl was a giant pterosaur, at the sight of which all prehistoric animals immediately had urgent matters to attend to and had to flee immediately. With a wingspan of an impressive 12 meters, these pterosaurs, which lived about 70 million years ago, were the largest flying creatures in Earth's history. According to evidence from researchers, their diet consisted of carrion and small animals, but their true skill was flying. With their superbly developed flying abilities, Quetzalcoatl were considered unrivaled tunas for long distances and extended flights. Like most birds and pterosaurs, excessive curiosity and sheer chutzpah came first, diet and behavior. It was early for lunch, but then a giant cocky chicken named Quetzalcoatl flew in. No matter what, the feathered one tried to take possession of the prey. The Tyrannosaurus, of course, couldn't stand it and chased it away, but two Quetzalcoatls are already a force, and Rex had to retreat in this unfair situation. The Dimorphodon Confrontation. In the early Jurassic period, Earth was home to some amazing creatures, among which the mysterious pterosaurs called Dimorphodons stood out. What makes them special? These ancient creatures had a unique feature. They had two types of teeth, which is more of a mammalian characteristic. This phenomenon is of interest to scientists because usually pterosaurs had teeth of one type, designed for a certain type of food. But dimorphodons shed light on the diversity and adaptive capabilities of the animal kingdom of antiquity. These flying reptiles lived in packs, and if any predator tried to attack them, it was instantly rebuffed, incompatible with life. It was the collective lifestyle that kept this species safe. But these creatures could not be called soft and fluffy. Dimorphodons were aggressive, brazen, and fearless. Behavior and adaptations of various pterosaurs, pteranodons, stand out among their pterosaur relatives for their size and anatomical structure. Their diet included fish and small crustaceans, which the pteranodon obtained on the fly from the ocean. The pteranodon's long, toothless beak was an excellent tool for catching prey in mid-air. Pteranodon could attack, both in case of necessity to take away the prey and to repel a favorite female. Evidence from research. Among the mysterious inhabitants of the ancient world stand out Thalassodrameus. These creatures inhabited the planet some 110 million years ago. Thalassodrameus attracts attention with its huge crest on the head, occupying probably 75% of the surface of the skull. The size of Thalassodrameus was impressive. The skull was up to 1.5 meters long, and the wingspan was about 4.5 meters. Despite their impressive size, they preferred the ground to the sky, as evidenced by their powerful legs and jaws, indicating their terrestrial nature. Survival and hunting pterosaurs like Tekahasmas lived about 140 million years ago and were distinguished by their special teeth, long, thin, and very densely arranged, similar to a brush. Scientists believe that these unique teeth helped filter water when searching for food. Water passed through the teeth, and small invertebrates were trapped in the mouth and became prey. Pterosaurs often fell prey to marine predators such as sharks, ichthyosaurs, and plesiosaurs. Jungariters and their nutritional peculiarities, Jungaritherians, can hardly be called predators. Scientists have found out that they fed on mollusks, which is confirmed by smooth and blunt teeth. Pterosaurs, even giant ones, favored the meat of dead animals. More, they were scavengers. In flight style, most pterosaurs resemble large gulls and albatrosses. Scientists suggest that even the smallest pterosaurs could not flap their wings as often as sparrows or tits. These creatures planned in the sky like hang gliders, and only when in danger or searching for prey could flap their wings intensely and frequently. The developed part of the brain in most birds and pterosaurs indicates a higher intelligence compared to land animals. Orientation in space and altitude in these monsters was perfect. Pterosaurs and modern Archaeopteryxes. Archaeopteryx, like many pterosaurs, could fly, or at least plan well. Thanks to their relatively long limbs, Archaeopteryx could run long and fast on the ground until they were picked up by rising air currents. With tenacious claws on their wings, they could easily climb tall trees to then find themselves in the air, planning for considerable distances. Archaeopteryx spent most of their lives in trees. Their teeth were not designed to pulverize plant food, but Archaeopteryx fed on carrion and insects as well as plants. The lives and routines of pterosaurs. As studies show, pterosaurs settled in flocks, and their habitat depended on the family of flying creatures. They settled on seashores, cliffs, in valleys far from the sea, near rivers and lakes. Pterosaurs formed couples for life and laid eggs in pre-prepared nests. These nests were placed on high rocks, cliffs, and trees. The pterosaurs cared for their offspring until the young began to eat and fly on their own. To keep the eggs from drying out and getting cold, the female covered the clutch with grass and leaves. Paleontological findings and their significance. An interesting fact is that the skeletons of pterosaur fossils have similarities with modern species of feathered animals, as well as with the skeletons of Deinonychus, which belong to the theropod dinosaurs. Deinonychus are considered the closest relatives of the feathered species. Experts believe that Archaeopteryx could fly or at least plan well, thanks to its long limbs. Archaeopteryxes could easily climb tall trees to find themselves in the air. Wrap-up and conclusions. Pterosaurs were amazing creatures, and we will learn a lot more about them in the future. They continue to fascinate scientists and fans of the ancient world. Thank you for watching this episode to the end. Give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click on the bell to not miss new and interesting videos from the channel.